right, the new GPUs are out. A lot of people were really excited and pretty hyped about this AMD launch. We know that AMD has had some trouble in the past, but they have really been chipping away and kind of catching up in performance compared to NVIDIA. We know that NVIDIA is basically the GOAT when it comes to graphics cards, but AMD is definitely getting closer and closer. Seems like with each generation now that Lisa Su has taken over. I went to the launch of the 7000 series graphics cards. I wasn't able to stand in line for hours, but I did go to the store about half an hour after open, which doesn't really matter because the 7900 XTX was sold out by the time I got to the store. And all they had left were some 7900 XTs. But that's cool because like a few years ago, when the mining boom was going on and it was bull market and everything was crazy, you couldn't get any card. You couldn't get a 580. You know what I mean? You couldn't you couldn't get a 1080. You know what I mean? It was slim pickings to no pickings out there. So the fact that they had cards left over, basically an hour after opening, says a lot about where we're at right now. Now, I've snagged a 7900 XT. I will get the XTX eventually. I'm just waiting for to see some of these AIB partners come out with theirs. I'm looking at probably a Red Devil. I think those look the coolest and generally are some of the cooler running cards, but we'll have to wait and see. 79. Oh yeah. Booyah. 7900 XT, okay? The Sapphire one. Basically reference one 7900 XT. I did go to Micro Center. I did get the warranty because I do plan on returning it for coil wine eventually. And that's because I want the 7900 XTX, right? So I'm just waiting to get my hands on one of those. But I'll tell you what, I am happy with this card because I've seen this card get up to 3000 gigahertz. And not only that, I've gotten mine up to 3200. So I've more than passed what the stock levels are. And this is just a reference board. Imagine if I had one of those AIBs. If I had a Red Devil, I'd probably be able to push it a little further. I have no idea, really. I am not a very experienced overclocker, but I'm going to show you my settings and what I did. And I was able to get basically an extra 12 frames, an extra 12 FPS in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So, but let's take a look at this. Somebody got theirs up to 3.7 gigahertz on the front end clock and 3.5 gigahertz on the shader clock. So that is freaking sweet. And I think this article is probably right that, if somebody was able to clock it this high with basically just air, maybe even liquid, who knows? But with LN2, how much more is possible? Can you get to 4,000 gigahertz? Man, that is amazing. That would be something. Maybe I'll have to try this, but they probably did some other alterations that I can't see. I might have to give that a go. So the card peaked at a maximum board power of 400 watts, 45 watts higher than its 355 watt TGP, and the temperature stabilized around 62C and 85C for the hot temps. With this impressive overclock, the GPU delivered FP32 compute performance rated at up to 75 teraflops, a 44% increase over the stock clocked graphics card. That is freaking nuts. Oh, dang. Look at this. So right here, there's a 6950. The 6950 XT is no slouch. We know that. Right below it is, well, I guess this is already on cards. So you have the stock 7900 XT, the 7900 XTX, which I'm looking to get. But, man, this guy was able to overclock his. I mean, look where it's at. 75 QP power. Way up there. This is pretty nuts. If I'm able to unlock 12, extra frames on ultra settings in a game, how much more can an experienced overclocker do? And how much more can we do on those AIB boards? So let's go through and I'm going to show you what I did to mine. This is how you can lock more frames in Modern Warfare 2 Call of Duty. Take a look. Everything is on the ultra quality preset with the exception of texture resolution. Texture resolution is on high. Okay. So I switched that. I also turned up the video memory scale higher because this card has a ton of memory. And you can see over here, we're not quite using it all. So that is where I have everything. Everything is just on that ultra preset, except for the memory and except for the text resolution. I turned it up higher. We've all seen the benchmark, right? It plays through. I ran it 2 times on stock, and the third time I ran it, I just adjusted the fan curve. I like a really aggressive fan curve, so I cranked it up. So that's this right here. So this is going to be, let's see here. This is probably the stock run with the adjusted fan curve. And I like that thing way more aggressive. So with just my common run, my first 2 runs were basically 154 FPS. Just adjusting the fan profile, making those fans kick on earlier, and everything like that. I gained an extra 2 FPS. You can see here, GPU temp 44. Let's go back to, so look at the GPU temp. This is stock, 57C. It's not bad, but that's only telling you basically a little bit of the temp. It's not telling you like memory temp and stuff like that. So keep that in mind, that adjusting the fan profile is, even if you don't want to mess with like the clocks or the memory or the power or anything like that, adjusting your fan profile will help a lot. And you don't have to have them at 100%, but you can certainly have them at like 60, 70%, 80% or whatever when you're gaming, depending on what you're doing. I always disable that 0 RPM as well. I don't like that. If the machine is on, I at least want the fan spinning at their minimum, voltage, whether it's 10, 15, 20%, whatever. I want some movement there just to keep things going and to keep things cool. So I got my 156, and I was able to, let's see, what adjustments did I make here? Okay. Now I enabled my profile here. So I got the max memory at 3035. I dropped the volts to 1050 and no VRAM tuning at this time. So let's go ahead and play that. Oh, and the I don't think I turned the power up on this one, but the power should be at 15 on the power slider, or plus 15. So doing that, I was able to get another 2 frames. So from 154 to 158, adjusting the fans and adjusting some of the clocks. Let's go forward more and show you how I was able to get an extra, 12? So I basically did, how long was this test? I did about an hour of testing. This is 37 minutes before I hit my crash. And here goes a further test. Let's go back one. Actually, no, this is probably the good one. Let me find, where did I get the one? Where's the 166? 162 is pretty respectable. 164. 165. All right. So this is about where I'm settled with my overclocked. I have the memory at 3200. I have the millivolt at 1090. And I think that can go lower too. I have to play with it more. I think I've got one tested at 1080 millivolt, and that seems to be doing okay. But I've also got some VRAM tuning here. So I took the to 3200, and that seemed to be okay. So then I started playing around with the VRAM, and that seemed to give me the most bump. So that's kind of where you see me go from 150. That's where you see me go from like 154, 156 to the 160 range. So like right here, you see 165. And that was really cool. The highest I've gotten so far as far as frames in the game, it seemed like the more I tried to push it, the more it just kind of stayed the same. I did end up getting one crash at 3300 megahertz. Now, I haven't tried 3300 megahertz without any VRAM tuning, so I might take that off and then just try to push the megahertz. But it seemed a lot happier with a little memory bump. This was about the best I got. I think I have one done where it's 50-50 on the bottleneck. I think that's pretty cool. It's just neat to see. I don't think I've ever really seen that before. But yeah, you look at GPU temp 40C. So I like seeing that the higher. See, I'm pushing the card, and my temps are lower than stock, like by a lot. That's huge. So I just love that. But yeah, if you want an extra 12 frames, this is certainly what you could do. Your card might be a little different. You know, it could be better. Could be, you know, maybe not as forgiving. See, some of these tests, you kind of drop a frame or two. And once it starts dropping a frame or two, I kind of dial it back to try to find that happy spot. So there goes the 50-50 bottleneck right there. That is so neat. I've never seen that. I've never seen that before. That's cool. Yeah, man, pretty freaking neat. I just want to say, I am impressed with this card. I've seen some of the fanboys, like not an Apple fan or whatever his name is, so hyped about AMD, and then he's like, now he's disappointed. Like, I get some of his criticism. If you watch not an Apple fan or whatever his channel's name is, if you watch his channel, I don't know. I think he should be excited because I've seen reports of the 7900 XTX being like 1 or 2 frames away from the 4090. Like, what were you expecting them to knock the doors off? Like the fact that they're even knocking on Nvidia's door is so impressive. And they're Nvidia is literally trying to pump out that that 4080 Ti like right now, and probably that 4090 Ti because AMD is closer than they've ever been. They're pretty much right on top of them. You know, there's pros and cons to each. I could care less about ray tracing now in 10 years. Yeah, sure. But things will be a lot different in 10 years anyway. So